Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Eastchester Fire District Award Ceremony. It's been a while since we've had one, and we're glad everybody can make it. We'll have a pledge allegiance to the flag, and then we'll call the meeting to order. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I would make a motion, we call the meeting to order. Can I have a second?
Second it.
Okay. Mr. Baker, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and as I said, this is the award ceremony. I noticed former chairman and former commissioner of many years, Raymond Albanese, is in the audience. Hello, Ray. With that, I would, the chief has presented the board with a list of recommendations for awards. They go back several years, and based on what the chief has offered, I would, the chief has recommended the Board of Fire Commissioners a list of members deserving a special recognition. The list is here too attached. I would look for, the list also includes one Eastchester police officer for actions taken at a scene. I would look for a motion to accept the chief's recommendations.
I make that motion.
Mr. Baker? And Jerry seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So with that, we'll acknowledge the chief's recommendations. And Chief Grogan, if you could give us a few words and present your recommendations.
Yes, Commissioner. First of all, it just feels very good to see the turnout that we've gotten. This has been a long time coming. For one reason or another, a lot of these things fell through the cracks, but at the same time, it's very, very important that we do, make things right. And that's what we are doing tonight. We're making it right. We're recognizing members, current members, as well as retirees that I'm glad to see have come back to receive their due recognition for jobs well done and above and beyond. With that, sir, I think you'll be happy to move on.
Okay. We also have to thank a few the members for
Actually,
putting
yes,
this together.
Okay, I was going to save that part for the end, but
Okay.
We can do it all now. I do have to give special recognition. Part of the reason why we finally got this off the ground, for years trying to clean up what we had in place, and I delegated first. I'd like to thank Captain Yazzo for taking the initiative, the lead in the beginning, straightening out our awards setup, what we had in place. But then what he did was he passed on to, or he delegated it to Lieutenant Phil Pinto, who's done an exceptional job. And I will have to say, without Phil's diligence, this would not be going off tonight. He's just filled in the gaps, and he's put everything in place, and I believe he deserves a round of applause as appreciation. As well as, even with his work, it's just very involved, and like we said, we have gone back a few years, so there's quite a bit here. With that, I also have to acknowledge a lot of assistance in the front office, because things have been a little tough the few weeks, and as we led up to this, and we were not going to change it. I have to acknowledge first Mary Lou Falcone in the front office, our part-time assistant secretary, who really stepped up, put a lot together, and made sure all this went out. That, and of course, our chairman, Dennis Winters, who literally put in full days helping type all this out and get everything mailed. So without these people, we would not be doing this tonight. So thank you, Chairman, and Mary Lou Falcone. If anybody sees her, she did quite a bit of work to get this done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Now, Chief, how do you want to present your list? Do you want to go down below with the career chair?
I believe it'd be more appropriate if we just stand down in front.
Okay.
And I'd like to I'll go through the individual scenarios, and we'll present and name the recipients of the individual awards.
Okay. And Career Chairman Baker, would you like him to help you in this, assist you in this now? Or?
That would be fine, yes.
I'd be honored.
I appreciate that.
I'd be
yes.
honored. So you're going to read these all out in the record? Or?
First up, and we do go back here. July 5th, 2005. 12:56 hours, Eastchester Fire Department was dispatched to 31 Tuckahoe Avenue on a report of a cardiac arrest. Car 2102 and engine 27 were dispatched to that location. Upon arrival on scene, they found a 90-year-old female in cardiac arrest. Captain Bucieri, firefighters Frank O'Rourke, Chris Ryan, and William George worked diligently with members of EVAC and Medic 1. Firefighters George and Ryan assisted with CPR as firefighter O'Rourke positioned defibrillator pads on the patient. A shock was advised and delivered, which successfully returned the pulse to the patient. Due to the rapid, professional, and coordinated life-saving actions of these firefighters, the victim survived this tragic ordeal, and this woman's life was saved and she continued on. These men performed their duties in the finest tradition of fire service. Following firefighters are to be recognized for their actions at this call. For an EMS Class 2 award, Captain Louis Bucieri is retired. Firefighters Frank O'Rourke, and please, as I call your name, please come up. Firefighter Chris Ryan, and Firefighter William George.
You should take that. Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Next up, March 17, 2007, Eastchester Fire Department was dispatched to a motor vehicle accident with injuries on Palmer Avenue Bridge in Bronxville. Engine 29 arrived on scene with Lieutenant Quentin Baker, firefighters Robert I. Monaco, and firefighter John Arrigo. Upon arrival, Lieutenant Baker reported man down in cardiac arrest. CPR was in progress by an unknown female nurse and Bronxville police officer. Firefighters Robert I. Monaco, John Arrigo set up automatic defibrillation on the victim, and a no shock was advised. CPR then continued, firefighter Monaco doing chest compressions, Lieutenant Baker administering ventilations. CPR continued with the assistance of EVAC personnel and firefighter Frank O'Rourke until the patient was transported to nearby Lawrence Hospital. The victim was successfully revived that day and was released from the hospital after a week's stay. If it wasn't for the swift professional actions of the firefighters as well as the unknown nurse and Bronxville police officer, the victim would not have survived this fatal situation. These firefighters acted in the finest tradition of the fire service. For their actions, following firefighters will receive an EMS Class 2 commendation. Lieutenant Quentin Baker, firefighter Robert I. Monaco, retired. Firefighter John Arrigo, retired. Firefighter Frank O'Rourke.
Lieutenant, congratulations.
Sorry, I put that one over there. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Tom.
Make
Congratulations.
sure you come next door. We have a
Congratulations. Nice to see you. My regards to you.
There you go. Nice.
Juwan, congratulations.
What I shook your hand.
we do this again.
Oh, you're doing it again?
Good luck to you.
This one's actually a little bit involved. Actually, many people will remember. On February 12, 2009, Eastchester Fire Department received a call for a victim trapped in a trench collapse at 8 East Way. Upon arrival, car 2102 and engine 27 first on the scene, members were met with a 40-year-old male buried and pinned up to his chest in an unsecured trench. Experiencing difficulty breathing, Captain Dempsey, also understanding the complexity of this event, immediately called for additional resources as well as activating a mutual aid and special operations. It was at this point that members of 27 and Car 2102, Dominic DiRienzo, Richard Hall, and John Hamilton, took great risks, put the portable Halmatro power unit, hydraulic rams, into operation. Firefighter DiRienzo, Hall, and Hamilton entered the unsecured trench at great personal risk to themselves of a secondary collapse. They were able to move an approximately 8 by 4 foot concrete slab with the use of the Halmatro tool, enough to give the victim a few inches of relief to allow him to breathe. These firefighters administered oxygen and continued to tend to the patient in the unsecured trench, assessed him for further injuries, while at the same time started soil removal from around the victim until the additional resources arrived. It was with the additional resources, all the units from Eastchester, mutual aid companies from around the county, as well as Con Ed with their vacuum trucks, that the role of the Eastchester personnel resulted in a successful operation for the extrication of a conscious male 2.5 hours after extrication operations began. This actually extended into dark, where we had all kinds of logistics to deal with. Firefighters performed their duties in the finest tradition of the fire service. Like the first call up, 3 members, Richard Hall, Firefighter Richard Hall, Firefighter Dominic DiRienzo, and Firefighter John Hamilton, who shall receive a Class II commendation for their bravery and their risk to themselves as part of this operation.
Do you remember that night?
Congratulations.
Along with this, mostly, we also will issue for all the other members that greatly participated in the final result being successful, which is very unusual for a trench collapse. Unit citations are being awarded to Captain Richard Dempsey, Lieutenant John Debatetto, Firefighter Dominic DiRienzo, Richard Hall, and John Hamilton will also be included in the unit citation. Firefighters William Cincione, Firefighter Frank Nanarello, Firefighter John Pinto, Firefighter Sean McGee, Firefighter Robert Iamonico, retired, Firefighter Daniel Olivier, Firefighter William Adesso, and Firefighter Walter Skolaski, retired.
Congratulations to you. Sorry. Congratulations. Always a pleasure to shake you. This last one? It's another Pinto.
How many people are we on the time? I'm sorry? How many people are we on the
Next up, on Thursday, June 9th, 2011, 17:56 hours, Eastchester Fire Department received a call for 2 swimmers in distress at Interlaken Beach on California Road. This is actually one of those afternoons where extreme weather changed suddenly and storms were coming down on us. Engine 31 and Engine 27, Ladder 15 and Car 2102 were initially dispatched to the location. Conflicting reports also gave the location as Waterside Close, so now we had 2 separate locations to divide ourselves. Car 2102 and Engine 27 responded to Waterside Close, while Engine 31 and Ladder 15 responded to the original address. Weather conditions at this time were extremely dangerous due to very high winds, torrential downpours, and marble-sized hail. Upon arrival, Captain Yazzo observed 2 people in the water approximately 30 yards off the shore of the beach on California Road. He immediately contacted 60 Control and requested Engine 29 to respond to the scene with Marine 1, our rowboat. As 2102 and Engine 27 were relocating to California Road, upon Engine 31 and Ladder 15's arrival on the scene, without hesitation, started evolutions of a water rescue. Firefighters Robert Conlon and William D'Ambrosio of Ladder 15 immediately went into the water and swam out to the distressed swimmers. Lieutenant Joseph Rugliano, firefighter Michael Mazie of Engine 31 set up water rescue ropes and equipment on shore to aid in the rescue. Firefighters Conlon and D'Ambrosio reached the two swimmers. They quickly calmed and swam them back to shore. Due to the rapid, professional, and coordinated life-saving actions by these firefighters, the victims survived a potentially fatal situation. These men performed their duty in the finest tradition of the fire service. Following firefighters are recognized for their actions. Receiving a Merit Class A, firefighters Robert Conlon and firefighters William D'Ambrosio. Also in conjunction, a unit citation to Lieutenant Joseph Rugliano and firefighter Michael Mazie. Monday, September 5th, 2011, 09:03 hours, Eastchester Fire Department received multiple calls for a structure fire at 134 Columbus Avenue. Engine 27, Engine 29, Ladder 16, Tower Ladder 17, Car 202 were initially dispatched. Upon responding, Westchester County 60 Control advised there was possibility of an occupant trapped on the third floor. Upon that notification, 202 had requested additional engine to be added to the assignment, Engine 30. First arriving unit on the scene was Ladder 16. Lieutenant Daniel Grogan gave an initial size-up of 3.5-story wood frame building with heavy fire showing on the third floor, with the victim hanging onto the exterior of the third floor dormer on the number 2 side. He immediately transmitted 1075. Lieutenant Grogan, firefighter John Rochelle, put Ladder 16 directly into aerial operations to reach the victim. While the efforts on the third floor were being conducted, Lieutenant Grogan and firefighter Rochelle had to deal with aerial obstructions. They had laddered the exposure 2 building and made their way to the roof with the ground ladder in tow. The ground ladder was used from the roof of the exposure 2 building, placed over a 10-foot alley to the fire building, and the victim, who was precariously hanging for the third floor dormer, was rescued and brought down the ladders to the ground. The victim was taken to the hospital by EMS with smoke inhalation and minor burns. At this time, simultaneously, Car 202, Engine 27 arrived on the scene. Captain Yazzo, firefighters Frank Greenbaum, Joseph Labrino, and Eric Castiello immediately advanced the hose line to the third floor apartment. After forcing the door, the members were confronted with heavy fire conditions and extremely high temperatures. After primary search was conducted, confirming there were no more victims, and a hose line was advanced to concentrate on extinguishing the fire and to protect the victim from advancing fire who was trapped on the dormer. Due to the rapid, professional, coordinated life-saving actions, these firefighters, the victims survived this tragic ordeal. These men performed their duty in the finest tradition of fire service. I'd like to first acknowledge these firefighters recognize their action. For a Merit Class A commendation, Lieutenant Daniel Grogan and firefighter John Rochelle.
Best of luck to you.
Lieutenant, congratulations.
Along with this, in conjunction with this call, I also like to recognize a unit citation for Captain Bruce Yazzo, firefighter Eric Castiello, firefighter Joseph Labrino, and firefighter Frank Greenbaum.
Congratulations. Captain. Congratulations. Thanks for
Captain,
helping with this.
congratulations.
Lots of luck.
Okay. On May 27, 2013, Eastchester Fire Department was dispatched to a report of a possible drowning of a 3-year-old child in a private pool at 36 Rose Avenue. Car 2102 arrived on scene in less than 2 minutes. Upon entering the property, they could hear a child crying, and at that time, when notified by 60 Control, the 3 members of service were on scene, and the child was now conscious and breathing. Off-duty members, our Captain Thomas Ferrara arrived at the pool area and found off-duty Lieutenant John Debatetto, off-duty firefighter Andrew Albanese, and on-duty police officer John Rogliano administering rescue breathing, and the child had been reported unresponsive in the pool. The child was packaged and transported to Westchester Medical Center. These 3 responders are directly responsible for the positive outcome of this incident. They used their training and worked collectively as a team in order to bring this child back from what would likely have been a fatal drowning. These men acted in the finest tradition of both the fire and the police service. I'd like to recognize tonight these men with the following commendations. EMS Class 1, Lieutenant John Debatetto, firefighter Andrew Albanese, and EMS Class 1 Certificate of Appreciation, Police Officer John Rogliano.
Congratulations. Thank you.
More recent memory. On December 14, 2014, at 20:34 hours, Eastchester Fire Department received a call for a cardiac arrest at 18 Summit Avenue, Bronxville, New York. Car 2102, engine 29 were dispatched. On arrival, found a 66-year-old male in full cardiac arrest, no pulse, no respirations. Firefighter Eric Castiello and Captain Yazzo immediately set up the defibrillator and the pads were placed on the patient. After analyzing the patient, the defibrillator advised to shock the patient, and it was delivered. A CPR was being administered. Engine 29, with firefighters Jay Rockhill and John Rabius, had arrived on scene. They had assisted in setting up the bag valve mask for respirations. After 1 complete cycle of compressions and respirations were delivered, the patient started breathing on his own. At this time, EMS arrived on scene. Paramedics switched pads over to his defibrillator and monitor showed functional heart rate. The patient was packaged and transported to the hospital emergency room. Upon arrival, was conscious and alert. Due to the rapid, professional, coordinated life-saving actions of these firefighters, the victim survived this tragic ordeal and is alive today to speak of it. These men performed their duty in the finest tradition of the fire service. This time, recognize fellow firefighters, recognition of their actions. EMS Class 2 awarded to Captain Bruce Yazzo, firefighter Eric Castiello, firefighter Jay Rockhill, and firefighter John Rabius.
Congratulations.
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 John, what's up to you, John? Congratulations. Sir?
Congratulations again,
Congratulations
Captain.
again, Bruce.
Bruce, again, congratulations.
Okay.
At this point, those are all the awards we have for tonight. I'm going to turn it back over to Chairman Winters for a conclusion of award ceremony. Once again, thank you for being here. every one of these awards was greatly deserved, and I feel very good to finally give them to the people. Thank you.
I just want to take a picture out this way so people see what we see on our end. So thanks for everyone coming. All right. Thank you.
Okay. I really appreciate the turnout. The board is very, very pleased by the turnout. This was long overdue. There's some very heroic action, some wonderful work. And, you know, some of these I remember distinctly of hearing the radio calls when they came in, and it's, you know, really wonderful work, and thank you. Any board member comments? Anybody?
I just want to say, I hope the public knows what professionalism that there is in this town and 2 villages. And to me, from myself, from my heart, I tip my hat to you guys.
We have ordered sandwiches and some pasta for the children, if the children like pasta or the adults like pasta, over on Station 3 on the second floor there. So we have sandwiches set up and some beverages. So I welcome everybody to go over. We're going to continue with a budget meeting in a few minutes. But thank you all for coming. Yeah, but we'll try to run over. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoy the what's set up next door. Anybody?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, real quick, long overdue. It won't happen again. To paraphrase Napoleon, he said something like, you can get guys to take over the world if you give them a little piece of ribbon. But basically what it is, it's a thank you and a recognition for going above and beyond. And I, you know, as a career reservist, I understand exactly what it's like when you do something and sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle, and you don't do it just for the ribbon, but it's nice when somebody pats you on the back and says, great job. So on behalf of us, our apologies for the delay. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your continued professionalism, and I was very honored to be even a small part of this, so thank you.
Well said. Very well said. So I'd look for a motion to close the ceremony.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And folks,
Thanks for coming.
thanks for coming
No,
in. And lunch.